My name is Reed, and this is the story of the most terrifying experience of my life. It happened last summer during a backpacking trip through Southeast Asia with my friends Laura, Ben, and Sarah. We were young, adventurous, and eager to explore the world. Our journey took us to Cambodia, a country rich in history and mystery. One day, while staying in a small village near Siem Reap, we heard locals talking about an ancient temple hidden deep in the jungle. They called it Wat Bak Se Cham Krong, but it was more commonly known as the Cursed Temple. According to legend, the temple was abandoned centuries ago after a series of mysterious deaths and disappearances. The villagers warned us not to go, but we were too intrigued to resist. Armed with our backpacks and a vague map provided by a local guide, we set off early in the morning. The hike through the dense jungle was challenging, but the excitement of discovering something untouched by tourism kept us going. After several hours of trekking, we finally reached the temple. The structure was magnificent, despite being overgrown with vines and partially collapsed. Intricate carvings adorned the walls, depicting scenes of ancient rituals and deities. We stood in awe, taking in the eerie beauty of the place. "Let's go inside," Ben suggested, his voice tinged with excitement. Laura and Sarah hesitated, but I nodded in agreement. We carefully made our way through the crumbling entrance, our footsteps echoing in the silence. The air inside was cool and musty, and a sense of foreboding settled over us. As we explored the dimly lit corridors, we noticed strange symbols etched into the stone walls. They seemed to glow faintly, casting an unnatural light. Sarah, who had a background in archaeology, tried to decipher them. "These symbols are unlike anything I've ever seen," she whispered. "They look sinister." We pressed on, curiosity overcoming our growing unease. In the main chamber, we found a large altar covered in dust and cobwebs. On the altar lay a collection of ancient artifacts, ceremonial daggers, ornate masks, and a small weathered book. Ben picked up the book and carefully opened it. It's written in an old script. I can't make out much, but it looks like a ritual of some sort. "Let's take it back to the village," Laura suggested. "Maybe someone can translate it." As we prepared to leave, a chilling wind swept through the chamber, extinguishing our flashlights. The room plunged into darkness, and we heard a low, guttural growl. My heart pounded as I fumbled to turn my flashlight back on. When the light finally flickered back to life, we saw a shadowy figure standing in the doorway. It was tall and gaunt, with hollow eyes that seemed to pierce through us. The temperature dropped, and an overwhelming sense of dread washed over me. "Who are you?" Ben demanded, his voice trembling. The figure didn't respond. Instead, it moved closer, its movement slow and deliberate. Panic set in, and we backed away, our breaths coming in ragged gasps. "We need to get out of here!" Sarah cried. We turned and ran, the figure's presence pressing down on us like a suffocating weight. The corridors seemed to twist and turn, leading us deeper into the temple instead of towards the exit. The air grew colder, and whispers filled the darkness, echoing off the stone walls. Suddenly, Laura screamed. I turned to see her being pulled towards a gaping hole in the floor by an unseen force. We rushed to her aid, grabbing her arms and pulling with all our might. With a final desperate effort, we managed to free her, but the experience left us shaken and terrified. We stumbled upon a hidden staircase leading to an underground chamber. Desperate to escape, we descended into the darkness, our flashlights flickering weakly. The chamber was filled with ancient relics and more of the sinister symbols, glowing ominously. In the center of the room stood a large stone sarcophagus, its lid slightly ajar. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and an oppressive silence hung over us. We knew we had to keep moving, but something compelled me to approach the sarcophagus. "Reed, what are you doing?" Ben hissed. I don't know," I stammered, reaching out to touch the cold stone. As my fingers brushed against it, the lid slid open with a deafening creak. Inside lay a mummified figure, its eyes wide open and its mouth twisted in a silent scream. A wave of nausea hit me, and I staggered back. "Let's go now," Sarah urged, her voice trembling. We turned to leave, but the chamber's entrance had disappeared, replaced by a solid wall of stone. Trapped, we frantically searched for another way out, our fear escalating with each passing second. The whispers grew louder, converging into a chorus of malevolent voices. The mummified figure began to move, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. It sat up, and a deep, resonant voice filled the chamber. "You have trespassed on sacred ground," it intoned. "You will pay the price." Panic overtook us as we realized there was no escape. The walls seemed to close in, and the air grew thicker, making it hard to breathe. The figure raised its hand, and an invisible force lifted us off the ground, pinning us against the walls. "Please, let us go," Laura begged, tears streaming down her face. The figure's eyes bore into us, its expression devoid of mercy. "You have awakened the curse," it said. "Your souls are now bound to this place." Desperation gave me strength, and I struggled against the force holding me. "We didn't mean to disturb anything," I pleaded. "We're sorry." The figure's gaze softened slightly, and the pressure lessened. "If you wish to leave, you must perform the ritual and appease the spirits." "How?" Ben asked, his voice shaking. "The book," the figure replied. "Follow its instructions, or be lost forever." We hurriedly retrieved the book from Ben's backpack, flipping through the pages until we found the ritual. It required us to place the artifacts from the altar in specific positions around the chamber and recite an incantation. With trembling hands, we set to work, positioning the ceremonial daggers and masks as instructed. The glowing symbols on the walls pulsed with energy, and the air crackled with tension. We gathered around the sarcophagus, our voices unsteady as we chanted the incantation. The figure watched us intently, its eyes never leaving us. As we reached the final words of the chant, the symbols on the walls flared brightly, and a powerful gust of wind swept through the chamber. The mummified figure let out a deafening roar, and the force holding us lifted us off our feet, throwing us across the room. When the wind died down, the figure had vanished, and the entrance to the chamber reappeared. We didn't waste any time, scrambling to our feet and racing up the stairs. The temple seemed to pulse with anger, the walls closing in as we sprinted towards the exit. Bursting out into the jungle, we didn't stop running until we were far from the temple. We collapsed on the ground, our bodies trembling with exhaustion and fear. "We made it," Ben panted, his face pale. "Let's never speak of this again," Laura said, her voice firm. We nodded in agreement, silently vowing to put the experience behind us. We returned to the village, but the memories of that night haunted us for years to come. The legend of Wat Bak Se Cham Krong was real, and we had barely escaped its grasp. To this day, I can still hear the whispers in the dark and feel the chill of the cursed temple. It's a reminder that some places are best left untouched, their secrets hidden away for eternity.